Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of Reanimated. We are on episode 59, and I'm here with my intrepid co host, Stuart Tiffin. Hello, Stuart.
Howdy, HA.
Howdy. Along with our new zombie news related things, we are going to be reviewing Gallowwalkers. And I have a lot to say to you, Mr. Tiffin, about Gallowwalkers.
I sense that this will be more of a review of my judgment than the film.
This could be true. This could be true. But before we get to that, just like to thank our friends at Squarespace. This show, like all of our shows, is sponsored by them. And Squarespace is the all-in-one platform and makes it easy for you to create your own website. We use it for Reanimated. It is very easy to use. You can have your own themes, make it very much personalized to whatever you want. And if you are a first-time user, if you throw in the offer code zombie, which is not case sensitive, you'll get 10% off your first purchase. So thank you, Squarespace. So Stuart, news this week. There isn't too much because we're going into Thanksgiving, so I think people are more into thinking about
Happiness.
turkey and thankfulness and stuff rather than the undead. But there are a few interesting tidbits we picked up. You threw in an article about is it a water filtration or almost like a water?
It's like a water catcher in a way.
Yeah, kind of. It's kind of cool. I really like it. It's for a bicycle, really, and you hook it on your bike, and it basically not creates, but it condenses humidity from the air into water, which is a pretty genius idea.
Pretty genius. I think it does require a fairly high humidity level to it basically needs to be 50% humidity, which is higher than certain parts of the United States, but in Michigan and New York, you can definitely get away with this on a summer's day, but maybe
Right.
not so much in Arizona, Utah, New Mexico, parts
Death
of
Valley.
California. Yeah. Um, but yeah, so it basically just scoops up that humidity and turns it into water, and it takes a considerable amount of time. But that's not the real important thing. Is if you can build enough of these and put your whole zombie survival crew on bikes and ride them around America or some very humid part of Minnesota, perhaps, you'd have enough drinking water.
Well, I also like the fact that by doing it this way, you're also guaranteed that it's not going to be contaminated.
Right.
So that's a pretty smart thing.
Hmm.
I just like the idea of it. It's an interesting design. Um, but yeah, if you're in the more arid parts of the U.S., I think you're going to be out of luck.
Yeah. Well, then you still have to do the. Do you ever watch Survivor Man? We should probably review that for this podcast.
Yeah, I do watch Survivor Man.
So Les Stroud, the Canadian survival guru whose show Survivor Man is, he's done a bunch of episodes about like surviving in African deserts and stuff like that, and he's done the pee into a patch of ground and then put up some plastic tarp and then collect the evaporated pee water and drink that. So that's
Yeah, but
that's your recourse in the desert.
haven't you ever noticed with Les Stroud, it's sort of like he goes out, he'll be like, this is gonna give me the energy I need. It needs like a pine needle or something like that. And then they eventually by the time like he actually ends up stopping whatever adventure, he's like starving and dehydrated. Like it is I like the fact that it isn't staged like a lot of the Bear Grylls stuff,
Hmm.
but it's I saw somebody put something up like I love Les Stroud, but I think they should rename it Let's Watch Les Starve. um
Less barely Survivor Man. Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. One of my favorites is when he was sort of in I feel like he was in I think he was in South America and he was kind of wandering through the jungle and some mountain lion type creature was stalking him. So he ended up having to like run to the nearest human population and they like hid him behind their little wall and he kept hearing the stupid mountain lion or whatever it was like
Yeah,
because it was
I
still
remember that
stalking
one.
him.
Yeah.
It was still stalking him and I'm just like, yeah, that sounds like something I would not want to do. Anyway, yeah, but we should talk about him because I think that he gives a much more realistic portrayal of what it is probably like to be out in the wild and trying to survive, which, i.e., your odds are you are overcoming some difficult odds, especially in the desert rather.
Yeah. So for a future podcast, although yeah, I feel like there's a lot to talk about as far as Les Stroud or like a comparison of Survivor Man or what was the Bear Grylls show?
I don't even remember it. I just called it the Bear Grylls
The
show,
Bear Grylls show. Or
which is pretty much what it was.
okay, so yeah, we can scoop water right out of the air. That's 2014. It's about time. And then another article from a scientific sort of source from Scientific American. It's a fairly short kind of Q&A with some neuroscientists, or one of a team of neuroscientists who have come up with what they call a complete account of the neuroscience of zombies. And what do you think of this, HA?
I was kind of laughing because they basically were saying, this is really just to get people to learn more about neuroscience. So, um, and I thought it was okay. I mean, I think it's sort of, we see a lot of this with, people using the popularity of zombies to sort of shed light on whatever their particular uh, specialty is, whether it's mathematics or statistics, and in this case, neuroscience. But I thought it was pretty interesting, and they have I feel like they have a very good sense of humor about it. So it was kind of fun.
Their sense of humor slash the worthwhile nature of their project comes into question when they say the strongest case for their zombie consciousness that they're working on is warm bodies.
Well, yes, it does. Yeah,
So
agreed.
that,
Agreed. We don't want to use
yeah,
that as a basis, but yes,
stricken from the record.
yes.
Anyway,
That
so
that
yeah,
movie
they're
should be that movie should be stricken from everybody's record. So,
exactly. But yeah,
um,
so that's out there in Scientific American. A couple of neuroscientists who just like watching zombie movies and came up with some concepts about kind of latent consciousness in the undead, and then examples of that in popular culture.
yeah. And in movie news, I saw this announcement. I know you don't watch Doctor Who, but Matt Smith is also going to be in this new zombie-esque film, Patient Zero, which is interesting because he was also cast in Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
Hmm.
So apparently he's like making the zombie circuit.
Well, Doctor
Um,
Who does dabble in zombies, right?
Not a little bit to some extent. I guess you could go there. But Natalie Dormer, who is just apparently in everything, is also going to be in this. And the whole premise of this is that Matt Smith is playing a survivor, and he has some ability to speak with the undead, sort of Shaun of the Dead-esque, I guess. And he interrogates the zombies to track down the source of the whole zombie apocalypse. So, it's interesting. He's been getting a lot of work. I can't say whether all this work is good. He's also going to be in um, Terminator Genesis, which looks absolutely terrible to me. But maybe this will be interesting. I don't know. I'd be curious to see it. This appeared on CNET, and the graphic that they used with Matt Smith was absolutely terrible. The little like photo, but hey, maybe it'll be better than we think.
That's straight out of Doctor Who, though, right?
It is, but it
He's
looks
wearing a tweed
awful.
jacket. I mean,
Yeah, it is, but it looks terrible. It's like, come on, guys, update your photos here. So there's that. I'd be curious to hear more about it. At least it looks somewhat interesting. But more so to me than Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
yeah. Well, we'll have to wait and see.
Thanks for that. Yeah.
Sorry, I
Um,
got nothing. I got nothing. I mean, I'm always excited to hear about a new project. So,
yeah.
like even that Arnold Schwarzenegger one that we talked about several months ago.
Yeah, I wonder we should at some point try to find that once it's actually, available for
Mm-hmm.
for public consumption. Um, but in any case, that brings us to I know you're really excited to talk about this.
I feel like I need to issue a statement before we do this.
Uh-huh.
Um, I didn't know. I knew it would be bad. I didn't know it would be this bad. No, but
Yeah.
honestly, there are a couple reasons why this movie is interesting. kind of meta reasons, like outside of the film itself, because the film is unavoidably bad. It's not. It's a bad movie. It's a bad movie. But it does star
I,
Wesley
I I would
Snipes.
I would go even further than that to say it's an atrocity.
Is it the worst film you've ever seen?
I don't think it's the worst. Zombie ass. This had me thinking a lot of that while we were watching this.
Zombie Ass had better special effects than this movie.
It did. And man, this was tough. So anyway, continue. Sorry for the
So the
interruption.
reason why I think this is an interesting film in Wesley Snipes canon, let's say, is that this is the movie he was filming when a warrant for his arrest for tax evasion was issued, and he left Africa. I forget where they were filming it in Africa. Not to be that guy who's like he was in all of Africa. He left. It looks like they're in the Sahara, based on the so somewhere in Northwest Africa, perhaps. He flew back to Florida in order to face the judge and be released on bail in order to go back and finish the film. And I wonder if, in retrospect, he wishes that he had just flown back to America and gone to jail for 5 months for tax evasion or whatever it is he ended up having to do, rather than finish the movie. So I think that that is kind of interesting because that was big on my radar when he kind of got taken down for tax evasion back then. Um,
Yeah. And I mean, this is the thing. Keep in mind, it's not like, I mean, Wesley Snipes, he did Blade, so clearly he can play this kind of role with no issue.
mhm.
Like he's been attached to these kinds of things. This is, a project that I guess had some initial, I mean, maybe the difficulties behind it were related to some of these things outside of the production that we're talking about.
He's clearly not the weak link in this film.
No, no, the weak link is there's so many other weak links in this
He's
film.
the only link, and everything else is
Right,
just yeah,
right.
exactly.
Um, like I did very much after watching this, I did very much enjoy reading some of the reviews. This got a grand old 11% on Rotten Tomatoes, which honestly, I'm surprised it even got that many percentage points there.
Hmm. I think some people think it's so bad it's good.
And I think you could see it that way. Like this movie, you could very much watch it, make fun of it, and not be worried about missing anything while yelling raucously at the film because it's so bad. um, yeah. Um, yeah.
So, not too many films that aren't supposed to be set in Africa are filmed in Africa.
Mm.
What's your takeaway there?
What that? Why that they filmed it here? What?
Well, yeah, like I don't know, like I guess it would be more important to find out what nation, what country it's actually filmed in. But like so, like The Walking Dead ends up getting filmed in Atlanta because there's such a good tax benefit to filming there, and I'm just wondering if we're gonna see more movies filmed in sub-Saharan Africa because it makes sense.
It was Namibia where they filmed this.
Namibia.
Mhm.
Well, what did you think of the setting?
I mean, I thought that part was fine. And there were some beautiful vistas that kind of took your mind away from the terrible plot and non-existent narrative or very thin narrative.
It felt quite
Um,
otherworldly to me. Like
it did.
it almost made
It
me think that I was watching like a Dark Tower type film.
Well, it does give you the sense that it's in some sort of parallel universe or like a different. It gave you like a very I don't want to say purgatory feel, but a different plane kind of idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
And
which
not
I
only because it doesn't make a lot of sense, and so you kind of have to go there in order to make some sort of sense of it.
yes. Yeah. I just like overall, I think one of the strongest things in the film was his coat. Like that was a good feature. His outfit was pretty
Actually,
good.
costume design wasn't bad. The
It
blonde
wasn't it
wasn't.
wasn't bad. Some of the makeup was pretty rough though.
Yeah, this is not a zombie movie. We should also point that out. There are apparently people who come back from the dead, and some of them are weird and like rotting a little bit. but they seem to just circumvent that by cutting faces off of albino people and putting them on.
Right. And then there's also some sort of weird, for some of them, there's that weird alien look, and I can't tell why that happened, or why some of them look alien like. Um, and there's also, it looks like some costumes from the band Guar make appearances.
Yeah, old lizard head definitely looks guar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Skull Bucket, maybe, perhaps.
So, how did you get? Did you watch this with subtitles?
I didn't, but I will say the sound was rough.
For me, it wasn't just that the sound was rough. It was just that I couldn't, because there were no character introductions really at any point. The
Hmm.
only way I knew what their names were was when
Uh,
in the subtitles it would say fabulous colon and then he delivers his lines.
oh, yeah. And it's also, they use the word whore an awful lot in this, which is kind of weird. Everybody's a whore, or whore Babylon.
A
And all the women,
womb of
apparently.
vipers, yeah.
Yep, women are all whores.
Yeah.
Um, and, there's a lot of showing of breasts. Like, it was sort of weird. Like, I have to think, even when making this, these actors must have just, like, I wonder how they felt making this. That's all, like, that's what I was thinking the entire time was, what must they have felt making this? Were they just like, oh my gosh, I can't even believe we're doing this and I can't wait for it to be over? I don't know. It was a painful slog. Um, Now, apparently during the commentary, and there's like just like a little collection of cast interviews at some point, the only thing that all of them talk about really is how beautiful Namibia is. So maybe they just liked being there filming.
Oh, this is not at all where Namibia is actually really far south. I didn't realize they had that much desert down there.
Hmm.
Um, so crazy, yeah. Maybe they were all under contract to say how beautiful Namibia is.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I'm not. I will say, like, if you look at this, and there's a few ways, so you just look at it as like one of those so bad it's good film, like a little bit spaghetti western, a little bit Evil Dead. Um, I just feel like the narrative had to be just slightly tighter and less insane. I mean, there's so many just shots of like, I don't know, like you keep getting a lot of flashbacks of the original woman that Wesley Snipes loved being like raped.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get like a ton of him walking around the desert, or just like he has like a specific stance that they use a lot that reminds me of David Caruso from CSI Miami, where he just kind of like stands and then turns his head, and it's just like this long shot of him looking like Wesley Snipes. Um, it just feels like it needed to be a little bit tighter for this to work on that level.
A little bit.
A lot, a lot. Yeah, I don't even know what to say. It was a struggle to get through this. Did you force Holly to watch this with you?
Absolutely not. No, and it took me three times to get through it. Like
I made Bill watch this with me, and he's very unhappy with me now.
you burned a perfectly good zombie movie watching shit
Yeah, I know.
to watch this with
I
Bill.
know.
Um, yeah, I mean, there are other things that happen in this film that I was like, why? But honestly, like the overall vibe from the movie is that I don't give a shit enough to really be like, oh, why did he shoot his why did he first of all why did he save this blonde kid Fabulous to come and help him even
Why
and
is the
then
kid's name Fabulous?
why is his name Fabulous and then why did he kill Fabulous because he was going to die so that he could be raised as a zombie, like that's the better end for him.
Yeah, I don't even know. I mean, I didn't, as you said, I don't even care enough. Really, I have no like vested interest in any of these characters. All I cared about was the fact that it was finally over.
Hmm.
So yeah, I honestly, I'm glad you and I watched this so our listeners don't have to.
That's really the takeaway here, ladies and
Hmm.
gentlemen. Do not go out and see Gallowwalkers, even though it's on Netflix and you could, I guess, if you wanted to. But take to heart, Netflix told me it was going to be a 1-star movie. They were like, "This is how
Yeah,
much
so
we
that was
think you're
about
going to like this,"
that was
and
pretty accurate. You
they
know
were
what
right.
it said for me? Half a star.
Oh wow.
So
They
yeah,
know that I
so
have lower standards than you, HA. Oh dear.
yeah, yeah, half a star. So yeah, and then I don't know. I just can't say much more about this.
So
Um,
originally, this film started getting talked about being made in 2005, and it was going to be called The Wretched, and Chow Yun Fat was going to be the lead, and it was kind of a different story. He was a zombie bounty hunter, um, and then yeah, eventually Wesley Snipes came in and took over. I'm not sure what Chow Yun Fat's been up to. I assume he's been doing some stuff though that's probably better than this. And
mm,
honestly, Wesley Snipes is this didn't really impact him too badly because he's then come back to do Expendables, where he made jokes about not about doing this film, but about being in jail for tax evasion is like a big joke in I think Expendables 2 or Expendables 3.
yeah.
Either way,
So
he's going to
so
be
at
just
least,
fine.
oh, of course he is. And maybe this could have been. I'm not gonna blame it on these issues because I just don't think that. I honestly don't think anything could have saved this thing. But you
Yeah.
know.
But the budget was 17 around 17 million is at least what's estimated. It
See,
was
that's what actually kills me. $70 million, and this is what they made. I know
yeah,
that that is not an insanely huge budget for like
but
a
it's still
big
a lot
budget
of money.
film.
Yeah.
It's still a ton of money, and I'm just like, oh, all the other films that could have used that money.
Yeah, or any of
And
the other things that money could have gone towards. Like, I don't know.
right, I don't know, like feeding people. I don't know. Like this was
Clean
just rough.
water.
Yeah, yeah. Life straws.
I mean, what percentage of Namibia's government spending is $17 million? It's probably not totally insignificant. Um, so shit. What was the other thing I was gonna say? Oh, it never went to a theater. Like nobody saw this in a movie theater, as far as I know, unless it's made it into like some kind of horrible movie screening evening. So it was just straight to DVD, and now it made it to Netflix sometime in the last year. But yeah, so no, like no box office earnings. I'm not sure how those kinds of contracts are negotiated for Netflix. Probably won't be on there forever, based on the way that seems to go through IP and gets new stuff and drops old stuff all the time.
Yeah, so if you really desperately want to watch this, even though we're telling you not to, you should probably try to do it soon. Come on, some people are still going to try to watch it.
Yeah, because it's kind of like watching a car wreck,
Yeah.
except not even as interesting.
No, 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 no. Yeah, so I know it's a pretty short episode today, but that's really all I have to say about this is all the time I'm willing to give to Gallowwalkers.
Yeah,
Did you have any other things to add?
not at all. No,
All right, all
I
right.
feel dirty even having said this much about it.
Yeah, me too.
Other
So,
than as like a bit of a biographical film for Wesley Snipes. Like think about he was under some stress when he had to do this film, and it took 3 years to get to get published after it was filmed. Or I don't know if they were still doing reshoots in the 3 years that it took from when they started until it was done in 2010.
ugh, yeah. Yeah, I have one word. Avoid.
Just imagine having to go back, like thinking that this project is still you still might have to go do some more work on this project. I mean, like
Oh, I
years
know.
later,
Oh, that was probably like
reshoots.
heartbreaking.
God, yeah, forget about it.
So to cleanse our movie watching souls, I think we should change it up a little for next week and do a comparison. Um, what do you say?
Yep, definitely.
All right. So I think we agreed upon just sort of pitting Zombie Diaries, which was made in 2006, against Romero's Diary of the Dead, which was made in 2007. So I'm kind of excited to see both of these. Hopefully, they will not let us down. But yeah, I can't wait to watch these.
Yeah, so bring your flip cam and buckle up for some really shaky
Shaky
footage.
cam work.
Get
All
your
right.
get your Dramamine on.
All right. Well, have a good rest of your weekend. And until next time, see you later.
Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for listening.